Welcome to North Idaho Experience. In today's episode, Dave and I sit down with Scott Moskowitz. He has a new local politics called NO Idaho, or NOID, where they deconstruct mainstream narratives of panhandle politics. So this is a hyperlocal podcast, super informative. It's a great way to get information about some of the things going on here locally in North Idaho, probably a little bit in Spokane as well. Scott has a background in radio, so he's an excellent guest to have on the show. Very entertaining episode today. I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. So stick around to the very end. We get all into some local political things here in North Idaho that you will find interesting, I'm sure. Hey, please, if you guys enjoy this podcast, jump on there and give us a review. Also love to see some comments in the YouTube channel, and you can find us on all audio platforms as well. And remember, also check us out on Instagram. We've got a great Instagram page that I find to be pretty darn hilarious. If you guys are thinking about making the move up here, our real estate team is the #1 real estate team here in North Idaho. We are all former first responders and or veterans, and we do a damn good job, in my opinion. So give us a holler if you guys are thinking about making the move or have a home up here to sell. That's all. Enjoy the show. Hey, so Scott and I didn't meet in the usual manner that I meet dudes.
In the hot tub or
no,
the sauna?
We didn't. The sauna. We did not meet in the sauna. We met over a beer at Post Falls Brewing Company, which I have come to love Post Falls Brewing Company. I didn't go there for a long time, even though I lived very close to there. I just don't drink a lot of beer anymore, but I've been in there a bit lately, and I just love the vibe in there, dude. It's cool. It's a cool vibe. Their beer's good.
It's an owner proprietor local business. It's like the old model that used to exist still on display, and you can feel it when you're in there.
Yeah. You know, that's something for people. Listen, like, that is so North Idaho. I hardly ever drank beer, and I've never been a person that likes to go drink a Bud Light or anything else like that. But up here, strange. Trails End, Daft Badger. I mean, all these places, Post Falls Brewing, you can walk into these places and get locally crafted beer, at least something that's local from the region. And I mean, it's addicting. You're like, man, there's so many different types of beer.
And so many good ones. You jump over into Spokane, you've got No Lie. There's another one over there. I can't remember the name of it. But like, good beers. Dude.
I know. I dig
good beers. It's funny that we're talking about beer because that is what you used to talk about on your podcast, your previous podcast.
Yes, I come from the craft beer world, but sort of via the radio. It still exists, although it's a shadow of what it once was. It's called the Brewing Network. Okay. We did craft beer and home brewing themed, originally radio, and then podcast. My partner, who founded it, started it in 2005. The first podcast on the Brewing Network was in June of 2005. So he was a pioneer, a trailblazer.
There wasn't even podcasts back then. I don't even know how I would listen.
I don't either, because I didn't even have a smartphone back then.
You know how most people listen? The very first broadcast, his name is Justin. What he did is ahead of time, but like as he was building his studio in his garage in his rental house with his like band's old sound equipment. Yep. He had the local homebrew supply shop who happened to also be shipping orders around they would ship nationwide in addition to in-person sales. He had them put a flyer in every one of their shipments for like a few months ahead of the first broadcast. Hey, tune in. It was just a website. Everyone was listening on their browsers. Just Internet Explorer 2005.
Isn't that crazy? On Napster or something?
Freaking.
That's where they were pirating our content, man.
You know what is crazy too? Because I feel like people don't get a lot of credit for things. You know, right now we're in the podcast era, and so we have a podcast and it does well. But there's people, timing is so important. There's people that had those ideas back in the day, but there wasn't the platform for them. The best idea in the world, but the timing was wrong.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. And and to your point, he credits his like college professor at the time, who saw the writing on the wall and was like, "This is the future. Like, it's radio on the internet," and he just sort of sent those flyers out and asked that was More Beer was the supply shop was what it called, and they became our longest running sponsor. And so they would run commercial spots on the show for, it went on for 15 years.
So did you brew yourself as well?
No, I wasn't a brewer. No, I came in through the radio because I was working at CBS Radio. And I met him there because he was doing his show simultaneously as a 1-hour weekend show on terrestrial radio. And I just had a shift screen in his phone calls. I was doing A's baseball. I was doing all sorts of stuff, just running the board.
Yeah.
And I met him, just happened to be like, screening calls in a show. I liked beer fine.
Right.
I was in like Santa Barbara in my college years. You have to like beer. It's part of the deal.
I can tell that you are in radio. Do I sound as good as him?
No.
I don't sound near as good as him.
None of us do.
He started talking, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
he's got the voice.
I need to pronunciate better.
I noticed,
Elocution, man.
Whatever.
Yes, say that. Say that, Dave. I can't pronounce that. No, I knew that right away when we were having a beer. I was like, oh, he's gonna be good on the mic.
This is
nice,
cool.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what is your background? What's your background?
The radio. I mean,
Okay.
that's when I was 18 was my first, like when I first moved to Santa Barbara for the college era, which I didn't actually do the classes. I just did all the social part. The first thing I did was walk into the Modern Rock station and go, hey, I want to intern on the morning show. Just kind of
Really?
make coffee for free. And then I ended up doing the board for Loveline with Dr. Drew and Adam Carolla.
Okay.
So those years I was there, I would go in at night and do the board for Loveline for the Santa Barbara affiliate. And then my bosses there, when I left Santa Barbara for the Bay Area, they put in a word with their friend, whatever, who was a program director at CBS, and I just kind of went to work up in San Francisco downtown.
Really?
Yeah.
And what did you do in San Francisco? What type of radio?
Like I said, it was CBS Radio, which was like a 6-story building, and they had many different stations. So I was just kind of hopping. I did Dave Ramsey's show back in the day, just the board for it, about his debt-free, whatever.
Like that board was probably bigger than our board.
Slightly, yeah. And there were like 9 of them. Yeah, and what's funny too is now that I'm doing this is the digital era, and I'm like, I've got the browser-based mixing board rather than a physical mixing board, and it's so confusing, like learning where to route audio and how to send stuff to where. I find it much easier with just XLR cables.
Yeah.
You just drag the cable, you plug it in. Makes sense to me.
This is
That's
the
cool.
only thing gorillas like us could actually figure out.
I know.
And it works really well.
I was like whacking it with my computer with a stick.
Yeah.
Like
no, that wouldn't have worked for us.
It's
at all.
hard. You lose a sense of what's actually happening. I talked to my son said this the other day, and it blew me away because I never thought my son would say these words to me. He goes, "Dad, we were changing the tires on his car. I was flipping him over to winter tires, and he goes, Dad, how do you know so much?" And I'm like, what the hell?
Whoa, hold
I know.
up,
I'm like,
you didn't call me right away?
No.
My son says I know a lot.
It blew me away, because I'm looking at him. I'm like, man, I grew up, and my dad honestly didn't have any mechanical aptitude. Like, hardly taught me how to use a hammer, right? Like, I didn't grow up with a dad that was a gearhead or anything else like that. I didn't know a lot of stuff, so I had to learn things. When I was at the fire station, I used to buy used cars. Okay, I'd buy used cars. I'd take them to the fire station for 8 days, and I'd fix them up. I'd clean them. I'd set them. I'd turn around and sell
you
them
had
like
a
2 months
side
later.
hustle back in the day.
I made like $4,000 over like 8 years. Okay,
It's like 14 cents an hour.
but I had to learn stuff. And my son, he was like, Dad, how do you know so much stuff? And it made what I'm getting back to is that it made me realize that everything that he does is so technologically based, and it's all computers now, that he doesn't have the sense of feeling of what's actually happening, right? You're clicking a button for every single thing. It's the same motion, same feeling, as opposed to something like this where you're turning the dial. You're feeling the mechanics of things. Like, it's just different.
Exactly. It's ethereal as opposed to hands-on. It's a completely different animal. Now, ideally, it would be great to know both, but it seems like people are sort of inclined to one or the other. Like, what did your dad do?
My dad was a poker dealer.
Really?
He dealt blackjack. He did some.
right?
He was a
taught you-
title rep for a little bit.
He probably taught you your ability to communicate with. You are like top notch in your ability to communicate effectively.
Honestly,
when you're actually listening.
I would love to attribute that to him, but I would love to attribute that. But the truth was, I kind of grew up as like a little bit of a community kid. Like, I mean, my dad went to work at 4 p.m. I got done with sports at 5.
Oh.
My mom lived in Arizona. So like, where was dinner? It was like, oh, it's over at Matt's house. It's over at Renee's house. It's over at Casey's house. Like, that's what I did.
Leaned on your friends.
100%. Yeah. I was a community raised child.
Takes
at that.
takes a village.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
turned out
it
okay.
did. It took a lot.
You know what's funny? You when you're talking about your son and you doing stuff, and it's going to be tricky for kids coming up now. It's going to be different. I don't know if it'll be good or bad, but for example, last night my dryer went out. We're in a rental right now, and so it's not my dryer, but I'm like,
The dryer.
The dryer went out. I'm like, I'm gonna fix this thing, okay? Like, I don't have a choice. And I pull up handy dandy Chat GPT. I've never done this before, and I was like, here's my problem. Here's the machine. And it's like, all right, well, let's run through these diagnostic
This was your
tests.
first time. This was your inaugural ChatGPT prompt.
For that, yes. Well, not first time with chat, but first time to utilize it in this manner.
He's made pictures of me from chat.
I have definitely made a lot of pictures of Dave, which I'll boon. Dave changes his facial hair a lot. Anyway,
Boone's coming back.
Boone's
I need
coming.
about a month and a
Boone
half.
needs to come back.
He'll be back.
Your beard had a name.
it's a whole persona. No, it's the whole persona that he undertakes when he becomes Boone. It's a great story. So I'm running through the diagnostic checks, and it's like, okay, nope, it's not that. It's not that. It was super freaking handy, and I just wonder how that will change, our kids as they come up in this world. Is it good or bad? I don't know. Maybe it's a good thing, but will they actually learn how to do things, or is this just, I don't know what the right word is, but you know what I mean? Are they going to learn how to learn the fundamentals, the principles of it?
I think the fundamentals are all built into technology nowadays. I think that we just understand how to utilize it and manipulate it. But I think the fundamentals are gone. I'll be honest.
So my fear is if for some reason we lose AI or chat after we've all become super embedded in it, these kids are growing up with it and that's all they know, are we going to be in big trouble?
I mean, well, there's like the hybrid nature of it is like, I would use, pre-ChatGPT back in the day when you just had to use the regular internet to look up how to fix an element on your dryer because your drum wasn't spinning. I don't know how to do that. And this YouTube video of a guy showing me on the exact same make and model how to do it was amazing. But then I turned the wrench and then did it. True. So I wonder is the kid now going to be like, can ChatGPT fix my dryer? Like, no, you still have to do it, but it's a tool.
That is true. I did have to turn the screwdriver and take some panels off.
I've seen more people. How old are you?
You want to take a guess?
I want to know. You said 41. 41.
I've been told I look young. Yeah, you're really close. 42.
Okay, I'm 42 as well. Good.
Hey.
Okay, so we grew up a state era. But yeah, I think for people like us, we've seen the translation where we can go on YouTube and then we can go grab the stuff and we have the fundamentals. But if I were to put down 342 divided by 12 and put it longhand right now, how long would it take you to do it?
Stop it.
That's what I'm talking about. That's the fundamentals, right? That's actually understanding where things come from. Now we just use a calculator. And I think for a lot of this stuff, because I was going to ask you how radio has changed in the past 15 years, 20 years now, since you started in 2005, because I'm very interested, but I'm willing to bet that a lot of the fundamentals have gone away and now they're more complex and we utilize the fundamentals, but through technology.
Yeah, and it was even before that. The podcast started in 2005. I've been in radio since even before that, since like 01. Wow. And I didn't start that podcast in 05. My eventual partner, Justin, did. And I like I said, I met him at CBS Radio in the later 2000s, screening his phone calls. And the radio has changed. I mean, radio is almost dead. Like other than sports talk radio and like AM conservative talk radio. But even that, I mean, the listener bases are largely downloading the show as in podcast form after the fact. Live radio, I mean, it's a dying art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you do now? And by the way, you're an exceptionally attractive man, and here's why. You're wearing a Post Falls, Idaho hat, you have a beard, and you have a Snap-on shirt.
You don't see a lot of Snap-on shirts.
When you see a dude, there's got to be like this attraction to like, you are wearing a Snap-on shirt. Who are you?
You're going to talk about nuts and bolts.
Where did you get that?
This is, courtesy of my mechanic friend who actually doesn't just prompt ChatGPT. He actually fixes cars. And he has a Snap-on tool chest, and he had a few accoutrements came with it, because they're like not cheap. So all sorts of, it comes with like a pen and an umbrella and this cool shirt.
I have like one Snap-on wrench, and it's like my favorite thing. It's like,
it's so
you better guard that thing, man. They're expensive.
I know.
That's the first thing people see when they come in the shop. They're like, "Oh man, your tool chest." I was like, "It's not mine. I'm just I'm babysitting it."
Yeah, immediate respect though for somebody that has a Snap-on shirt. Anyways, So what do you do now?
Good question, and this is why I was
we're here.
Fascinated by Seth's story in particular, and you guys in general. But that Seth and I had so much in common in that. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when I went back and started listening to some of your earlier shows, my understanding is that you left California for North Idaho for probably most or all of the same reasons that my wife and I did, with no real plan of what was coming next.
None.
Okay,
we didn't know anybody at all. No family, no friends, nothing, right? There's a fair amount of people that have done that same thing, which seems very risky. But we left for the same reasons. Did not really have a plan at all. We just did it.
Right. Okay. So we did sort of the same thing, although you were pre-2020. So you were
2020. No, I came in 2020.
You were in 2020. Yep. Okay. So I don't know if it was a fog of war thing for you, but for us, we were like 2020 California, especially Bay Area where we were.
Dude, you were
thanks.
You were in the heart of it, in the thick of it. I was in the Bay Area in 2020 for the George Floyd riots, which you may remember. Yep. Good times. A lot of good times there. So you came here 2020.
Yes.
No plan.
Right. So this isn't to answer your question, Dave. Like I what do I do? I still don't really know yet. It's only been 5 years. Well, I mean, I'm being a little facetious, but I like where I was at in my life before 2020, and I expected none of it to come to an end. I mean, everything, you have a house, you have a business, you have a whole life. I mean, I lived my whole life in California, and expected the things that I'd been building. Eventually, we ended up having a craft beer bar with our podcast studio built into it, and that was a successful functioning business.
Can we do that, Dave? That sounds fun.
It was a cool purpose-built place. I mean, it's we can get into it maybe a little later, but like I had everything set up. I wasn't on cruise control by any means, but the things that I'd been establishing were like they were starting to really pay off. And then, all of a sudden life became untenable. All the things that I loved and were functioning for me were literally evaporated.
Yeah.
And I also couldn't see a lot of the same, like, some of the our bar regulars and some of the people that I worked with. I knew when I was what I was witnessing from them, their behavior in 2020. I was like, I will never be able to see you the same way again.
Were they drinking beer through straws under a mask? Is that what we're talking
about? I wish you were exaggeraggerating. Literally, yeah, like peel the mask down, take a sip of your beer, mask back up over the face.
I think you can just pour it right through the mask.
It is porous.
It's like waterboarding yourself.
Porous, yeah, totally. And they do love torturing themselves. Yeah. They really do. They're masochistic.
Why go out? I mean, we can't say that word because we get in trouble on here. But
I think we can say it now a little bit.
A little bit. Well, why go out during that time if you're that afraid?
It's a great question.
Why go out?
It's so confusing. Like, hey, order your groceries online, ding dong. There's like services for this.
Yeah. I swear people went out just to cause chaos.
You're exactly right.
You need to stay away from me.
That's right.
Don't come near me. Like,
just to virtue signal on other people.
It was unreal.
It was unreal. Is unreal. I mean, the amount of there's a lack of reflection that's really gone on about it too. I feel like people are maybe sort of subconsciously embarrassed by some of this stuff. Not everybody, but I think some people, and so they just sort of don't want to talk about it.
I get it. Yeah.
And anyway, so yeah, like this is a really long way to answer what do I do now. So now we're up and we move here. My wife has family in Spokane, just barely on the other side. So we were sort of spinning a globe at first, like, well, where do we go? We know we're out of here, so where are we going to go? Where's the sanest?
What was on your list? Because we did the same thing, and I had a few on our list, and I'd love to hear yours.
I don't even remember this. Arizona, Utah, like I barely remember the specifics. We were going to do like a sort of U-shaped road trip, and
we
then
did
end
that.
up in
a relocation vacation.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, good one.
Went through we went all the way through Arizona, up through Nevada, hit Carson City. We ended up coming through Montana, checking out Southern Idaho. I mean, we were all over the place just looking.
Where was your starting point?
Yucca Valley, California.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, middle of the desert.
Was it Joshua trees, right?
Yeah, lots of Joshua trees.
2020 as well?
2019.
Oh, we actually started the one.
We started in 2015, and I actually applied with Coeur d'Alene PD, and I was going through backgrounds, and I also promoted to captain the same year. And I'm like, what do I do? And the money, I go, I'm just going to take this. And honestly, looking back at it, I wish I just said, I'm out.
Yes, I know. I've heard you say that. Mm-hmm. Yep, totally. And now I don't necessarily have that. We were not contemplating leaving. Like I said, everything was sort of, humming along nicely. So it was sort of very sudden. After we decided, we didn't even end up doing that relocation vacation. As we were planning it out, we were like, let's actually start in North Idaho on account of we have the family here and we don't really have any other particular reason to pick another spot. And so we ended up just sort of taking a month in July, coming up here, hanging with her family, looking at some houses, whatever. Her mom's my wife's mom's a realtor up here. And just ended up going, why are we going to look somewhere else? And then my wife ended up joining her mom, getting her broker's license. Another reason that your guys' story really resonated with me. Yep. And yeah, so we've bought and sold a house. We did a big renovation and sold the first house. We've done a big renovation on the second house that we're currently in, which is on the market. So we've been buying and selling. We've had a vacation rental that we've managed. And otherwise, I still am not really clear on like what's next for me and us, other than what we've been doing so far.
Couple sidebars. I won't say where, but his property is in a very cool spot. You may know his wife because she's over at KW, right?
Yeah, or her mom, the Kramers, Anita Kramer.
I don't know him.
Okay, I mean it's there's unsurprising. There's a fair amount of agents.
Like 2,200.
Yeah,
it's the most watered down profession on the planet.
Yeah, well, there's not a very big barrier to entry.
No, there's not. That's a great way to say it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Shoot, where are we going with that?
What you do now, and we're still not there yet. We're getting closer.
We're still there.
We're getting closer.
Right. So in addition to this left California, no real plan, came up here, got into real estate, even though they weren't in real estate before, does a podcast about North Idaho. Name is Seth, and I was supposed to be named Seth. My name's Scott. S name. I was always told my mom what that. I was like, man, I think you're me in like a weird Bizarro universe.
There's another weird element to this. His last name's Moskowitz. My first girlfriend in 8th grade, her last name was Moskowitz.
That's a real weird one.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, strange, right?
Weird.
I know.
It's the great magnet. But anyway, so I also have started a podcast about North Idaho. It's not the same format as this. You guys are doing more of a sort of an interview, conversational type show. We're doing a very specific format that we're gratefully borrowing from the podcast No Agenda. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with No Agenda. It's essentially media deconstruction, mainstream narrative deconstruction, but we're just, instead of doing it on like a national, international stage, we're doing it for North Idaho. This is something that the co-host of No Agenda, Adam Curry, who's a former MTV VJ, he used to host Headbangers Ball back in the day. He has sort of encouraged people to start hyperlocal podcasts. He's like, if there's a hole in the market anywhere, because people write in or whatever, how can I want to start a podcast? What should I do? Like, give me advice. And enough people asked him this to where he was like, if you're looking for something to do, cover your local area like we do on No Agenda, but just do it for your region. And basically it's playing news media clips. On No Agenda, they'll do, NPR, PBS, CBS, ABC, Deutsche Welle, France 24. So international, a lot of stuff you would never otherwise hear. Turkish radio and television, and they're playing some freaking newsreader from over there, And it's a deconstruction of what you're hearing. Why are they using this background music? Why are they using the words you're using? So you're sort of hearing the news of the day via deconstruction of how the media is presenting the stories. Right. And Adam, from working for MTV and being a mainstream media guy, and the other host, John Dvorak, who was a longtime writer for like PC Magazine. He was a technology writer, nationally syndicated columnist. They have a really long and solid understanding of how media works. Yeah. The IFB that's in your ear, and what the producers and editors are telling you, and who plugs the words into the teleprompters, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's a very illuminating tool to basically learn how to understand propaganda. A lot of people, we know we're being propagandized, but it's so foggy, Mm-hmm. This is just putting fine points on everything, and it just organizes your brain and shrinks your amygdala.
I am very thrilled that you guys are doing this podcast because it's a market that's untapped here. We dive into politics on this podcast, but it's in person, and I mean, for example, Dan Gukin. I had so many people reach out after we had him on, and he's now the Coeur d'Alene mayor, asking about that specific clip of him with some very anti-Christian rants.
Come over for a gay time.
Right.
Well, it was one of those that you looked at it and I'm like, hold on, this thing's been pieced together, and I'm not vilifying him, and I'm not saying that what he said was okay. I'm just saying that when you looked at it, I'm like, okay, yes. I've seen things doctored before. I would love to hear what he has to say, but I'm not just going to take this for face value.
Right. And you guys just did a breakdown on that. It just went out, right?
On the show we just put out. No, we're really, this is in its infancy. We just put out our 4th episode. My co-host is Paul Banducci. He's the founder of the Racketeer Cigar Lounge in Post Falls. I'm not sure if you guys have been over there. It's a great spot.
Not.
There's only a couple cigar lounges in town. One's at like State Line. The Racketeer's the other one. He just sold it this year to one of his longtime bartenders, but it's a fantastic spot. Leather couches, bartenders wearing vests and bow ties, jazz music. It's
cool.
Terrific place.
How have I not been there?
Honestly, and the craft cocktails are, and I'm not just saying this, I've only recently gotten to know Paul. I just frequented his establishment. It's a terrific place, especially if you're a cigar and tobacco guy. Yeah. Even if you're not, their cocktails are great.
Okay.
And the environment. But anyway, like he grew up here, and there's a mainstream apparatus everywhere, and I'm getting to the Gookin thing that propagandizes. Like the Coeur d'Alene Press and the Hagadone News Network and Creme 2 out of Spokane, and these are sort of interconnected mainstream sources that present just like CBS does on the national stage or NPR. They do it for Kootenai and Spokane and North Idaho in general. And if you don't know if you don't know what to look for, you'll just scroll past their posts on social media, you'll drive past their billboards on the freeway, and you will otherwise have their messaging sink into your head, consciously or not. And what I want to do is provide a resource for people to help them see through it's foggy. It really is like North Idaho College, for example. Did you guys follow the whole Save North Idaho College thing? Oh, we're going to lose our accreditation.
A little bit. You probably know more than I do.
I saw a little bit of it, but here's the thing too, and this is one of the things that's very hard for me. People, I tell people get involved. You can only be involved in so much, man. I can't keep up with all of it.
It's exhausting.
It is. It's tiring, and I think that's one of the reasons why propaganda works.
Mm-hmm, that's absolutely
because they know they can hit you with so many things, and the truth is, man, we are just so simple, and we were meant to be we were not meant to be connected the way that we are.
You're right.
Yeah, I mean, headlines do two things. They either immediately piss you off, or they reinforce some type of belief that you already have. So it's and either one works, right? Being enraged at something will make you pay attention to it.
That's exactly right. And that ties into the Gookin thing. And that is exactly what it's a supercut is what was put together there. That's exactly what that was designed to do by the guy who put that together. It is designed to have people watch it, become enraged, and then make a dive and do a shoulder roll to their keyboard so they can mash their fingers into it about what a psycho Dan Gookin is. Now, if you actually watch a clip and you know what you're looking for and you know what supercuts are, there are 2 or 3 words at a time, and then it goes mashing to the next clip. So it's like, if I had a message, if Jesus were here today and he had a message for Christians, it would be get the F, cut to the next thing. Well, get the F what? What does he say? There's no context there. Now, I'm not, like you said, Dave, I'm not making a judgment on Dan Gookin.
Yeah.
He may or may not be a Christian-hating psycho. It's not even relevant to the point. The point is the supercut and how it's put together. It's highly propagandistic. It's not meant to show you anything about who Dan Gookin may or may not be. It's just meant to rile you up.
Yeah, which drives me insane. So it's how much work is involved in making one of your episodes?
A lot.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Because it's all clips. And in order to, for one, you got to scour and look for what clips you want to play. What stories do you want to cover? And then whose coverage of it do you want to use for your clip? Am I going to pull Creme Channel 2's talking head, reading about North Idaho College? Am I going to use somebody's Facebook? One of the board of supervisors has a Facebook post, and I'm going to plug that into 11 Labs and so there's a voice reading. You know what I'm saying? There's audio that needs to be generated for every story so that we can break down the messaging. You got to figure out what stories you want to cover. You got to find the sources for that story, and then I don't just play it from YouTube and then pause it. I'm pulling everything into Audition and editing it for brevity and making sure that I have my waveform in front of me so that I can pause and play and go back as needed for every single clip that we do. So yeah, I'm wildly jealous of this format.
Way easier.
much easier.
What's the overarching theme of your podcast? What are you trying to accomplish?
Media. That's a good question. The answer is keeping people not just informed is a stupid word, really more tuned in to who is feeding you what messaging and why. The North Idaho College thing is a perfect example because we up here in Kootenai were hammered for 4 years with Save NIC propaganda. The college is going to lose its accreditation. Save North Idaho College. You got to vote public for these people that are running for the board. The board of trustees, those are elected positions. Well, the public voted wrong in 2020. And ever since then, we've been hammered. Now, in 2024, the establishment people were voted back in, and it all evaporated overnight. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. But if you weren't paying close attention, which to your point, Dave, we only have so much capacity,
right?
Then all you would know. Well, I like North Idaho College. I want to save it.
Yeah, I don't want it to lose its accreditation. That's a big deal.
That sounds like a huge deal. Yeah, the state is investigating it. They're going to pull the accreditation for half of the Spokane riverfront real estate. That's our college, man. And I even had friends after the first show we did was with Paul, my co-host Paul's dad, Todd, who was the chairman of the board of trustees. And he was the sort of head of the anti-establishment people who, the public accidentally voted wrong and voted him in. That was not cool. When we did a long breakdown about what actually happened there and what was behind the Save NIC propaganda, it became clear oh, the establishment got really mad that they weren't in charge anymore, and they started pulling maneuvers to get the state to start threatening the college so that they could get their people back in these positions and then just have their 5-0 votes and their rubber stamps again.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I had friends go, even friends that are paying attention go, I thought that like Save on AC meant like get rid of the wokies. I had it backwards.
Yeah.
Whoops. And that's probably most people.
You know, when you talk about propaganda and kind of this subtle setup for communities in terms of news and how things are released and everything else, it's really an anthropology project that's been going on for years, right? I mean, hundreds of years since newspapers first came out. And I mean, 1700, 1600, whatever it is, right? When we were able to do mass circulation.
Thanks a lot, Johannes Gutenberg.
There is a way to start manipulating people. And there's some very, very smart minds behind how we do that.
Oh, yeah.
But I also don't like crediting the person down at Coeur d'Alene Press with being that smart person. So what I'm getting at is, are there still people that are running these things that kind of have those, I don't want that sort of intelligence to be able to figure out how to manipulate the public, or are they just following general principles that have been taught through media and everything else? I mean, how is propaganda on a local level still being played out? Is there really a puppeteer, or is it really just following principles on how media is used most effectively?
Most of the boots on the ground, the talking heads, the reporter with the little handheld mic who's at the city council meeting who wants to interview Todd Banducci about, like, that's those people they're not puppeteers. Definitely not. I don't think the vast majority of the apparatus is like in on it or read in or like knows what they're doing.
Right.
I just think that they think they're reporters. I think that there is no question there are strings being pulled. I mean, you have media apparatuses that will openly admit that they march in lockstep. I mean, you'll go and tonight on Creme 2 and with our partners at Coeur d'Alene Press. Blah, blah. So in other words, you're telling me you march in lockstep with the Coeur d'Alene Press.
Here's my question: since we're breaking this stuff down, not to get all conspiracy theory, who are the people pulling these strings? Like, and that's my honest question, because when you talk about breaking something down, if there's actually something behind it, who are these people? That are is it just management at Creme? Is it a group of people? Is it
maybe an easier way to ask it? Is it like, do you think it's an intentional, or are they letting their own biases just come through their work?
I think it's you're kind of hitting on it there, which is that like they don't even. I just think they think they're normal. It's like oh, there's us normal people, and then there's the far right. You know, like I don't think they think they're doing it. Now to answer I can't answer it because I don't think we really know these people's names.
Right.
I don't know. It's like is Dwayne Hagedorn going mafia boss and like from beyond the grave?
I don't think he's smart enough.
Strings.
I'm not meaning that to be disrespectful. I don't think he's smart enough. I think that, and that's what I'm getting at, is I think some of these principles were put in place years and years ago with media outlets on how do you form a community? How do you direct people? And those are being used by some highly intelligent people that are at the top. But I think, like you said, I think more bias has a tendency to play in that.
I think there's no question about that. Here's a perfect example. A story we just did on the last show about property tax increases. And the newsreader was like, the levy failed. Unfortunately, it didn't say unfortunately. The levy failed, and despite last year's small property tax increase, the budget shortfall. And I was like, why are you saying small? Like, who is gatekeeping what is a small, medium, or large amount of tax increase? What you do is you just say last year's tax increase. If you start using adjectives, small tax increase, you're editorializing. But it's done so subtly and it's done so quickly, and it's not an opinion. He's just reading he's a newsreader. Well, there's all sorts of that stuff going on, like sentence by sentence. Does that guy think he's manipulating it? No, he's just some dope. He's just some guy reading a teleprompter.
Right.
Is the guy who plugged the words into the teleprompter attempting to manipulate? He's marketing government increases on behalf of who? I'm not really sure. He's marketing to us. He's marketing on behalf of the state, I guess. I don't think he knows he's doing it. I don't think the teleprompter guy knows he's doing it. I'm not sure who even knows they're doing it, but they're doing it. And maybe it's just cemented biases that they don't even know they have.
That's bias and principles that are just being used.
That would be my argument. Like whoever's writing it is like, well, they have their opinion and they're going to slip these little words in, right? You're just trying to get your opinion across, just like you're trying to sell something to somebody. And I think that's probably it. I always, when it comes to, this isn't the same, but when it comes to government, I always default to incompetence first. It's not the same, but it's kind of the same. It's I default to their biases are just coming through.
Well, there's so much we don't understand. We were talking about, I went on a rant. We have a tendency to do this at like 4 a.m. We wake up and we send texts that don't make sense.
Yes, we did.
You get my credit card thing the other day?
Yes.
So I told him, I was like, years ago, this is just the fact that we're so connected now. Things are so easy to manipulate and you don't understand. If I were to ask you, hey, do you think if we could stop credit card fraud, or at least the majority of it, would that be a good thing? Most people,
it seems like yes.
Most people would say yes, right? Then why don't we? Years ago, I actually came up with an idea. I'll put it out here right now because nobody's going to do it and it will never work. And here's why. I'll explain. Is I was like, man, how cool would it be if they came up with a program to where when your credit card is swiped, when it's sending signals to whatever to get it approved, it's pinging your cell phone. And if your cell phone is not within, a quarter mile of that location, then it gets declined, right? Who goes and purchases something without their cell phone? Nobody. Yep. You maybe go somewhere without your card, but you never go anywhere without your cell phone, right?
Anywhere.
Exactly.
Hemorrhoid cases are up because people can't be on the commode without their phone.
Right. Absolutely.
I'm not kidding.
I'm feeling it, dude. I'm feeling it. So anyways.
I notice you're shifting in your seat a lot.
Yeah. No, I had a hemorrhoid named George. I had a friend that was George. He was a pain in my ass, so I named my hemorrhoid George. Anyways. He's gone though. So
sure.
To get to that, I came up with this idea and I'm like, this is awesome. I was talking about how I could come up with a really great idea, but nobody's going to do it because we're all too lazy anyways. But then you start looking into it and you think, well, what if we did? What if we created something that would drop, the fraud, physical fraud down to next to nothing, right? Well, we would lose $11.9 billion in GDP if fraud was not a thing. Do you imagine how many businesses benefit from fraud? How many production companies, everything else benefit from fraud? And by the way, when you look up fraud and how they pay for it, it's passed to the consumer through interest rates, through fees, through everything else. And who was it that was on here recently? We had those two guys. Gosh, I totally forgot. Footsteps of the Fallen.
Footsteps of the Fallen. Yeah.
Guy was great. He said something, and I'm like, man, you are a smart young man. He said, we were talking about socialism and capitalism, and he said, I think it's a blend. And his statement, I'm going to try to get it right here. He said, we privatize the gains, but we socialize the losses.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
So when you think of something that would actually benefit a loss, well, it's not a benefit to these big companies because they socialize those losses. You pay for it.
That's right.
Not them. Mm-hmm. But if they make money, you don't get any of it. Or just such a small fraction, it makes no sense.
Same with, Home Depot, where they they have a certain allowance of theft that just
let
happens.
It go.
I work, or my police station was right next door to a Home Depot, and we got the word of like, hey, you know what, we don't want you guys to go over there. When they're just not even going to call anymore. It got to that, but like they allow, like I could literally run out the door and be there in 30 seconds and catch somebody in the parking lot. But it's like, no, we don't want that to happen.
It's because the tax code is written the same way.
Yeah.
It's written to protect those things, and we don't know the tax code like these businesses and these entities and corporations do. I go to Walmart and I feel really bad because there's somebody up there and I go, "Can I see your receipt?" And I said, "No, you can't." And you can't because you guys trusted me to check out on my own. And truthfully, do you guys prosecute when somebody steals? Then I'm just going to walk out of here, and you're just going to hope that I paid.
And then you just walk out. They couldn't. Not only can they not do anything in this instance, they couldn't do anything if you were pushing a cart full of goods out the door.
And that's why I said, when you guys start prosecuting for somebody stealing goods, I'll show you my receipt.
Sure.
But until you're willing to hold other people accountable, I'm not going to give you my receipt. You're not going to get it.
Well, the fraud prevention industrial complex has a really their lobbying arm is I don't know. I guess that's what you're saying, right? Like there is an entire industry around that is incentivized to keep fraud going.
There's money being made in fraud.
It's dark, man.
It is. It's black pill.
By the ones that are saying, hey, don't let your credit card get stolen. We don't want to have to. No, they're making money off of it.
Yeah.
Socializing the loss. Wow.
Privatizing the gains.
How do I get on the other end of that? that one-way valve.
If you want me to be honest, you become a shitty person.
Yeah.
I'll just be honest. And it's not any, I wouldn't call it any individuals that own a business or anything else, but as a whole, when things get big enough, man, I mean, I'm all for capitalism, but honestly, when I do sit back at it sometimes, does Jeff Bezos need $100 billion? $500 billion? $800 billion? Like, Bro, who needs that?
Well, super yachts are very expensive to maintain. You know the size of the fuel tanks on those things? It's like $1 million to fill the thing up.
And that's great. Good for him, because honestly, people that bitch and complain about it, also, I'm like, well, do you like ordering from Amazon? Yeah. Well, it costs a lot of money to maintain that. So if you're going to use it, which, by the way, don't use Amazon, shop local. Anyways.
Well, and I wonder too about the notion of like what kind of a person you have to be to get on the sort of good quote unquote side of these one-way money valves or program propaganda like we were discussing. And I would have the principle of not assigning malice to that which can be explained by incompetence.
Yes,
it's escaping me. There's a name for that principle, but I was on that page too, where I was not assuming that anybody was that. People are not that smart, like you're saying, Dave. Like people are like, who's really trying to like manipulate you in your chess move, and you're thinking 18 moves ahead of the public. There are people like that. It's not most, but I really started to get away from the incompetence explains it and not malice in 2020. There was such a sinister, coordinated, global propaganda campaign. If you have something that is that coordinated, there is a coordinator. Who coordinated the 2020 messaging? It happened around the world.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah, that kind of defeats my incompetence argument, that whole scenario right there. And you're right. Ever since then, it has shifted my way of thinking, where I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe. A lot of it is incompetence, I think, especially at the lower levels.
Yes.
But there does appear to be some overarching malice. Now, is it safe to say, if people are listening to your show, you guys are coming in from an unbiased angle as much as possible?
No, we're not necessarily. No,
Thank you.
We're not.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
I love the fact you're being honest about it, because
it's hard. I mean, it's hard to not have somebody. Right? We try that as well when we have political people on. We will have anybody on that wants to talk to us. But it's hard not to let our own personal biases come through.
Of course. I mean, we're all humans. I mean, I think most people sort of understand that like you're going to have leanings because you're a human conducting an interview. Yeah. And if I was doing something like a political, like when you guys sat down with all the candidates ahead of the local elections a couple months ago, I would have tried not to, let any of my personal leanings leak through, to the extent that that's possible when you're discussing politics with somebody. But I would be there to, seek first to understand, then to be understood. I want to understand you, candidate, and where you're coming from. I'm not here necessarily to tell you what I think.
Yes, we took the approach of, hey, you know what? If they're going to sink their own ship, we're going to let them do that themselves. And we just want people to be comfortable to talk to us, because after you talk to somebody for an hour, you're going to know a lot about them, or the listeners will know a lot about them. And that's the important thing. Even though we did that, we still had a few people reach out through back channels and do some shady shit to us. And I won't mention names, but, try to make the argument that we were picking sides, even though we said it literally at the beginning of every podcast. We are not endorsing any of these candidates. We wrote it on the comments. Still have people reach out. Why are you endorsing them? Blah, 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 blah. Why didn't you have me on the podcast? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, you didn't ask, first of all.
Oh, man.
You should ask.
I can't believe people aren't embarrassed to send these sorts of messages. Like, by all means, if you need the catharsis of mashing your keyboard and typing out that, why didn't, he got a bigger one. Like, okay, but just don't hit send.
But isn't that what we've been trained to do, like you said? Jump to the keyboard and send a message, right?
Yes.
So it feels natural for people to do that. They don't understand the consequences of it, because most of the time there's not. It's when there is that all of a sudden people are backed into a corner and they don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah, when somebody confronts you, like I said, not enough people get punched in the face nowadays. When you get confronted, all of a sudden it's different. And, oh my gosh. And you feel offended. Why would you come after me? Well, it's because you're a keyboard warrior and you kind of suck. Be honest.
Yeah. They never do it in public to your face, right? Never.
No, that takes different kind of stones, and you have to you got to be ready to get punched in the face, and almost nobody is.
Yeah.
But the truth is that I respect people like that. And that's the thing, is that people that typically are willing to call you out are the same type of people that I could get to come sit in here on a podcast and be like, hey, let's talk it over. Yeah. I want to hear why you disagree with me, and I'm 100% okay with that.
Exactly. Seek first to understand.
Those are the people that are willing to sit down and talk, the ones that will confront you face to face.
That is so true. Yep. And honestly, I don't even understand the notion of any proponent of censorship of any kind. I don't care how abhorrent, quote unquote, whatever you say. Let them talk, man. Yeah. Let them talk.
Yeah. The free market will handle it.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly right. So that's. I'm trying to go back to the question you asked about the How much post-production, I meant to ask you, editing and post-production do you do?
So we don't do it. We have an editor.
Okay.
So my job, I literally record everything, set it up. I download the card. Don't even start. Dave mocks me because
No, he does a lot of work. Tell them.
And then I upload all of these files onto a computer, and then we send it off to our editor. So he does all of it.
Okay.
And there is a fair amount, but we offload it.
I asked that because going back to the question about biases, sometimes because I do post-production editing and I do it myself, and I want to get away from it, honestly, as our show continues on here. The less you can do, the better, because sometimes you can just get lost in it. Were you doing it yourself in the beginning?
No, my 15-year-old was. He was 15 at the time. But truth be told, we don't edit anything in the middle. That all he does, all of our editor does is balance sound and deal with camera angles. So when you're talking, the camera's on you. That's pretty much it. And
Gotcha.
we like to keep it that way. I mean, we could. Sometimes we'll have them scrub certain words, right? We did a podcast recently with, talking about mental health and talking about suicide, right? And we use that word many, 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 many times. And I know that YouTube will.
Yeah, the algos don't like it.
They don't like that word, even though we're talking about it in a way that we're trying to
So
seek
weird.
solution. It's dumb. They don't think about, or it's probably all done with AI on that side of things, and they don't think about the context of what we're talking about.
Yeah, so in other words, maybe you're just on here going, "Hey, everyone, commit suicide."
Right.
Like, what is that? What's the freaking?
No.
What are they even saying if they start censoring that stuff? You know, it's very weird. But what I was saying is, I don't want to get lost in editing out stuff that does betray biases, because sometimes, like, I'll find myself being like, "Well, I don't really like the way I said that. It just sounds too, I don't know, not biased, but I don't like the way that question was said," and I'll sort of like edit it out or whatever. My co-host Paul, he will label himself. He is an anarcho-capitalist. He's ANCAP. He has a political philosophy, and I don't even know necessarily what to label myself anymore. I would have said before 2020, I would have just said I'm a conservative. Like, I'm an American mainstream Dennis Prager listening conservative. Post 2020, I don't even know what the hell label to apply to myself. But definitely we do come at it from a bias insofar as we have an overarching value, and that's liberty. And that's it. Like, we are concerned with liberty. So if that's a bias, then yeah, we're biased.
That's a good bias to have, I think. Okay, I like that. Man, I really feel like you could lose yourself in the weeds with the post-production editing.
You can.
Oh my goodness.
Well, and that the podcast I was mentioning earlier, that is the inspiration for our format, No Agenda, they famously do no post-production editing whatsoever. And that means sometimes, clean feed. That's because they don't broadcast from the same location. Sometimes that craps out and there's like a minute and a half of them. Hey, we got to get, now it's a very professional production, don't get me wrong. But sometimes things that are sort of would be cut out in post if you were putting out the most polished product you can.
Yeah.
It all stays in the show. My goal is to get to that point. Paul my co-host is not a broadcaster. He's a retail hospitality. He ran a cigar lounge. He has nothing to do with broadcasting. He just has a really good voice and a really good philosophy. He's tied into the area because he grew up here. And so as he gets better and better, and as our show takes on a life of its own, which you guys have seen, these things just tend to take on a life of their own as you keep doing it. I do intend to stop doing that, either close to entirely or entirely.
Yeah. I like the raw aspect of it. You know what I mean? It shows humanity. We make mistakes all the time. We say things that, we might change our mind, and that's okay. And I think people appreciate that overall. So it'll be nice when you get to that point, because that's a lot of the feedback we get is like, wow, you guys are like real people.
Totally.
You make mistakes. I'm like, yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're inspiring me. Maybe I should just start now, because some of it is a little more complicated when it's not just a conversation. When there's like you're playing audio clips and sometimes it craps out. Sometimes you play the wrong thing. But maybe I should just stop being so anal and I should just leave it in there.
Well, here's the thing
Might
too.
have value.
People, when you start creating a persona, right? People have an expectation that is who you are. So even on a podcast like this, if I were to walk out of this podcast and have a conversation with you, it would be very much just like this.
Pretty much.
If I saw you in the road, if I saw you in Safeway, I would be just like this, right? When you work too hard to create a persona, people have an expectation that's what it is. You see it with pastors all the time, right? They're really excited, they're all this stuff, and then you meet them in person, they're like, "Hey, what's up?" And you're like, "What? You're not the same." Like,
where's the energy?
Yeah, you look at all these famous people. All these people get up and perform like they're so big, and then you meet them in person, and just like, "Oh man, I'm exhausted. Don't even want to talk to you." Like, So it is. I mean, when you polish things, it starts to create a little bit of unrealistic expectations, I think, for people.
You're right.
It's been very important for us because of our how we pay the bills, which is on the real estate side, that we always maintain that. And that's the feedback we get. When people meet us, they're like, oh, wow, you guys are
that's
exactly
the thing.
like you are on camera.
You're trying to be relational over transactional, right? If you meet somebody and you sell them something, let's just use that word. I hate using that, but and you provide them a service and then you're gone, then it wasn't relational. Right? And so this YouTube has been a filtering for us for people that go, you know what? I could drink a beer with you.
Yes.
If you look at me and you're like, you disgust me. Well, they're not going to call me, and that's great because it's probably not going to be a good relationship. Well, I'm not looking for that.
Maybe, although in the words of Sublime, effing and fighting, it's all the same. So if they really are like, I hate your guts, like they might actually, be.
Maybe they will. So going back real quick, because I want to talk some. Going back real fast to media and everything else, and obviously who's pulling the strings and all this stuff. Would you say that if I were to ask you, would you desire power or money? Which one would it be?
Money.
Okay.
I mean, but neither. Influence would really be the end. I know you didn't give me that option. So of those two, money, but really influence. I do find influence to be very of interest. Power is anathema to me.
Would you say that influence is more synonymous with power or with money?
Man, I don't know.
The reason I bring this up is because I almost feel relieved when you say money. And here's why. Find me a rich person that doesn't work. Find me a Jeff Bezos, a Mark Zuckerberg. Find me one of these people that doesn't work. They all work. Because the truth is that power can bring you money. Money doesn't bring you power. If you've ever seen, there was that documentary, The History of Us. You guys seen it? There's a history of the United
America.
States.
Yeah,
and I'm going to butcher these names. I don't know which. It was J.P. Morgan, Vanderbilt, somebody, one of these big names back in the day, right? One of them owned, I remember one of them owned 60% of the railroad company. And the other one owned like 40%. And the one that owned 40 reached out to the other guy and was like, I want to buy it. And he goes, it's not for sale. And he threw him a blank check. Okay, now obviously this is all through financing and how they did it. He threw him a blank check basically. And the guy gave him a number that was like 10 times higher than what he had expected. And he goes, done. And all of a sudden now, this one man had no money, but owned all the railroad. And the other guy had all the money that there was, and he was miserable. He was absolutely miserable, right? Like, you don't find people with a bunch of money. Do you know anybody that just runs around with a bunch of money and doesn't do any work? They don't.
I mean,
people have a desire for that influence and power.
You need purpose, right? That ties into it because you see the trust fund kids who have all the money and no use in the world,
and they live miserably.
And they're shitty lives, right? And they try to, 100%. They're on social media trying to pretend that they're happy, but they're not happy.
And the money won't last if that's true because it'll go up their nose and then that'll be the end of it and they'll just end up they'll have.
Is that a cocaine reference? Nobody does cocaine anymore.
What year is this, man? Fentanyl's the way.
Yeah, like people haven't done cocaine for like 20 years. It's like a pure drug.
I mean, I wonder if you're referring to Rockefeller because Rockefeller.
It might have been Rockefeller.
The railroads too.
I couldn't remember which ones. I don't know.
But can you imagine like? You can offer 10x or make these ridiculous because you're just keeping all your money. This is like the Gilded Age industrialist pre-income tax. Can you imagine? They just kept all their money. They didn't know what to do with it.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Because if you wrote me a check for that, I'd be like, all right, I'm not working. Right on. I don't even need the power influence. I'm over it.
I could easily disappear. But here's what I would do is I would go buy like a fantastic place, in a legacy property, an island. I don't know. And I'd invite all my friends to come hang out with me and just. I'll be like,
I've already said, I'm like, look,
pay for it.
I'm like, what do you?
That would give me.
I would 100% hire Seth as my personal assistant. I'd be like, you're my personal assistant now.
I'd be a really good personal
assistant. And
Eric
is going to rub my feet.
Here's your notepad.
I'll pay him good, but I want him to rub my feet. He's got strong hands.
Seth, here's your coconut oil. Yeah. Here's your notepad.
I'm down. Ask my wife how back rubs turn out, bro. So good luck.
That's why I said you're my personal assistant, not my masseuse. Good God.
The power thing is really interesting. Like this is something that dawned on me. You guys tell me if this resonates. In the sort of I said we're liberty minded. That's our bias if we have one. Not libertarian, capital L, but just liberty minded. That the divide seems to be like authoritarian versus libertarian, not Republican, Democrat. Everything seems to be a sort of distraction versus authoritarian versus libertarian. And I say that because weirdly, the power thing, people that like power, they're authoritarian minded, whether they know it or not, they like being bossed around as much as they like bossing around. They just like power exercised against them or by them. And liberty-minded people don't like exercising power or people attempting to exercise power over them. We witnessed this during the mass psychosis in 2020 and through 2022. The people that were the most virulent, look at the stickers on the aisleway here. You're supposed to walk this way down the aisle. Like, that person also was doing whatever they were told for as long as they were told by the, whatever you want to call it, the propaganda sources. They loved being bossed around and enslaved. They also loved bossing people around. Authoritarianism, people that like power, strangely, it seems to go both ways.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. That's probably why the
like
super rich dudes always have the dominatrix that like they hire on the side to whip their ass with a leather belt, right?
Perfect. Right. Yeah, because they bark orders all week long, and then on Saturday night they want to be led around on a leash and like make puppy noises. Yeah.
That is super interesting. That the people are willing to give orders also want to take orders.
It's authoritarians. Like I said, this is a recent realization, but it seems to hold water.
I truly feel like that entire time was a massive anthropology project.
It was.
I really think that it is sociology. I mean, wanting to figure out how are people going to react? What are they going to do? You know what I mean? In the face of all this, how are people going to respond? And can we do it again? How do we utilize
I would love
this?
to see how it's written about in 100 years. Unfortunately, the history is always written by the victors, right? So I don't know how that will shake out, but I would love to see.
Oh, it's already written.
How that time will be written.
We've seen how that's written.
It's quite literally already written. My buddy sent me a page from his 10th grade daughter's history textbook, and it's like the 2023 edition. There already is a section in there about there was a pandemic. It was bad, and now we're out on the other side.
That's saved us.
That's it.
Yeah,
and the thing is that you only have to outlive the people that reject that. Because once it becomes a history book, you imagine Christopher Columbus, right? Maybe somebody else found the U.S., right? Maybe somebody else found this land. And maybe those people were like, you are liars. But it got written in a book, and guess what they had to do? They just had to wait for those people to die off.
Yeah.
And then, but the written word is going to continue to move on, right? So those people that fight against it, those people that believe in capitalism, believe in the United States, believe in the way that we were founded, if you start rewriting history slowly, you just have to wait for those people to look at all that. We talked about this recently. All the World War II veterans that have actually seen what it was like, they're gone.
They were gone. Yeah.
We are literally in the last, probably, there might be hundreds of them left, and at ages of 100 or more, they're almost gone. We've now lost our direct link to what it meant to fight for this modern era in terms of war, right? I mean, Vietnam and Korea, those weren't what World War II was, but even those people, they're coming to an end. So everything now we've lost. Once again, we talked about technology and that foundation. We've lost, what does it mean to send a person somewhere? There's going to be a point one day where we're not sending people. It's just a few young kids behind a board that are pressing buttons saying, oh, destroy this, hit this, whatever else. I mean, we're already there.
Yeah, video game war.
So you just have to wear down people to the fact that now we're just fat, happy, and comfortable. And as the people that recognize what's happening as they die off, that's fine.
I have my grandma on my dad's side was a camp survivor during the Second World War, and half my dad's family didn't make it out of Europe, but she did, and she toward the end of her life, which was in the 90s. To your point, I mean, they're either turning 117 next year, or they're already gone. She kind of knew that her time on Earth was coming to an end, and she wanted to get her story out. There tended to be a couple different. There was like you never stopped talking about it. I'll never drive a German car, no Mercedes for me. Or you never talked about it. It tended to be two different types of survivor mentalities, And my dad's parents were of the type that they just never talked about it.
Yeah.
But she knew, I think, that her time was nearing an end, and then whatever it was, 94, and was ready to get her story out. So there is a tape recording of 10-year-old me interviewing her, ostensibly for some school project or something like that. Yeah, it's my first radio interview, even though we weren't on the radio. But I went,
save that.
I did, that. And so this is where I'm getting at is, so now her story is a truncated version of it is on a tape, and I digitized it once I was in radio as an adult, and I cleaned it up, and there's a 94-minute recording of my grandma's story. So, but how do we then well, we want to pass that along because they're gone, but we don't want it to be forgotten what happened. Well, what's that going to look like for my 2-year-old daughter when I'm ready for her to hear that when she's 17 years old? Do I just sit down with her and play it? Is she going to even know it's real? What's going to be real? You know what I'm saying?
Dude, you're hitting on something that's huge for me right now because, there's so much. I'm always into conspiracy theorists and everything else. There's a lot of people that say, well, the Holocaust never happened, right? And then there's somebody like you that's actually heard from a family member her story, which I can imagine is amazing. And I've had a lot of people say, oh, the Holocaust never happened. And I'm like, have you ever talked to somebody that was actually there? Did you ever? Yeah. And they're like, well, there was just certain things.
YouTube
and I'm like,
video I was listening to.
Have you talked? It's just a simple question. Have you talked to somebody that's there? And so what you have right there is literally gold because it's one of those things that you above all people will know from grandma what it was, right? That's a huge thing. My grandma was born in 1908, bro. She was never in a camp or anything else like that, but she fled from Poland, came over here.
My grandma too, Poland.
Yeah, fled from Poland, came over here, and I mean, dude, she was born in 1908. Bro, she saw when lights were first starting to be used you know what I mean?
Can you imagine?
In cities, she saw the first computers, the first plane. There was no planes.
Yeah.
When you looked up at nighttime, you saw stars.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't see a satellite. You didn't see an airplane. You didn't hear anything like that. You were just hearing trains.
People are going to talk about us like that someday and be like, they didn't even have, they were born before there was AI.
Bro, I never realized it because when I was a kid, this just happened recently. We finally moved out somewhere where we can see stars again. And I love it. And I look up every night and I see fucking satellites everywhere. And I'm like, this is crazy. Mm-hmm. When I was a kid in Joshua Tree, I would go lay out, and it was like a challenge. We would lay out there for hours. Like, so you can find a satellite, and all of a sudden you'd catch one and you're like, oh my gosh. And it was like this amazing thing, right?
I see the Russians from here.
It was crazy. Station. Now I'm like, dude, it's freaking everywhere.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Nobody will ever even look at the skies the way that we did when we were kids.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, to go back to the it never happened. It's a sort of a strange take because I can understand questioning the power structures behind it and who caused what to happen and why. And well, we were told it was the Third Reich, whatever. But actually, was it actually just allowed to happen? And was it actually an operation of the film? Like that, I can understand. Like, oh, I watched the Twin Towers come down that day on TV. I have questions about like how that event took place, but the notion that the event didn't take place,
right?
What?
Yeah,
right.
How do you fake something like that, especially back then? Like, no, no.
And that's the thing is, I think that I almost feel like the government has been one of the biggest proponents of conspiracy theory. Right? Because the more they can get us to guess or question things, the more they can be as outlandish as they want.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could have a UFO fly right over something and be like, oh, it's a UFO. And the government's like, yeah, that's what it is.
I heard recently that there was an intentional push to do that, to inject conspiracy theories so that they could label people conspiracy theorists. And once you're labeled that, then anything you say is like, well, they're just fucking
one truth and 10 lies, right?
Yes.
Which one's a conspiracy and which one's not? Mm-hmm. Was it JFK? Was it the towers? Was it Pearl Harbor? Was it the Holocaust? What was it?
Moon.
Well, what was it?
Half the time, the conspirators loudly and regularly announce their plans into microphones at Davos. Hey, we have this bug paste that is being developed in Brazil, and it's going to, the world's food supply is, we're going to be able to feed so much more people because this cockroach themed, they're like giving a TED talk on their new bug product. Yeah. And then you go, hey man, they want us to eat bugs. And then you get called the theorist. It's not a theory. The conspirator just told you their plan.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Okay. I mean, this sort of stuff goes on all the time. Like There is the notion of just putting stuff out there that you know is baloney, and they know we know it's baloney, and yet they still keep pushing the baloney. Well, to your point, maybe that's just because now everyone's so off balance that they can sort of do or say anything, and no one knows what's real.
How do you? Well, that's the thing, and I bring it up all the time. When my kids would come home and they'd tell me something, oh, Dad, did you hear this? I go, source it. Like, what? What's your source?
It's so
My
hard.
friend's sister, how old is she? 8. Okay, so we're going to go off of this big plan that this is happening based off an 8-year-old. No.
Well, she's turning 9 next month.
It's impossible to source anything anymore.
That's what
the
I'm
problem.
saying.
Well, that's true.
You can find an argument for every side of everything, unless you see it with your own eyes. And even now, with AI,
yeah.
you still can't. So
Do you know who can prove to me that we've been to the moon or not? Nobody. Nobody can. You can bring as much stuff, and I have to somehow, in my mind, based off of the source and the information that I'm digesting, come up with my own theory as to whether or not something happened.
You can't.
Nobody listening to this podcast knows whether or not we've been to the moon. You could have been freaking working on it.
That's right.
And you don't know, unless you were Neil Armstrong, whether or not, and you know what? Honestly, Neil
Even
Armstrong
he
may not even
might
know. He
not.
might have freaking been in a hologram and like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm on the moon. Like, they put him in a capsule inside and shook it for like 3 months. And then he ended up there and he's like, oh, cool.
Someone give me a 7-iron. Man, I just hit a golf ball on the moon.
Right.
This is amazing.
Right.
Well,
why is it coming back down?
That's the insidiousness of it. There's all sorts of arguments that make sense that I remember being convincing to me. Not that I didn't necessarily ask questions like, did we go to the moon before 2020? But to the extent that I did, explanations like, well, freaking 400,000 Americans worked on that project. Would you think the 80 people in the room at control, like, you think they're all in on it? Like, yeah, that was convincing. But now, of course, post-2020, when I'm questioning so many premises of legitimacy, you don't have to have those people in the room. They could have just not known too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It really doesn't take many at the
you're at this
top.
computer, watch this line and tell me if it gets here.
Yep.
It's very important.
Oh, it's there. Mission control. It has arrived. And everyone starts applauding. Yeah, we did it.
So, okay, where does this go from here? Is this why it's important to have hyperlocal podcasts? Is that I can have this conversation with you, and if it's something you're talking about, you've seen and you've researched that's local, that's like the only thing I can actually trust. I don't know what goes on the East Coast anymore. I don't live there.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's that was the whole impetus, is that where is the coverage of your local region? I mean, everything now, it's just syndicated shows and affiliates of this and that, and everything is just sort of a product under a larger umbrella. Where is the true sort of local coverage? I feel like that used to exist, like in spades, maybe even in previous eras or whatever, but now I don't know where it is. And it would be great if every region had its own no agenda. The mainstream narrative deconstruction for your local region, because you know what, it's all the same mechanisms. If you go to the Nancy Pelosi, Gavin Newsom is Nancy Pelosi's nephew, because John Pelosi married. She's actually Nancy D'Alessandro, and that's the daughter of Thomas D'Alessandro II, who used to run heroin with Lucky Luciano in the Baltimore Mafia. No. And actually, William Newsom II, who's Gavin Newsom's dad. Well, under Pat Brown, who's the governor of California, he gave them the Squaw Valley concession contract. Like all these sort of national figures whose names we know, who's actually someone's cousin, someone's business partner, if you start digging, that is all true for every region, including here and everywhere else. Hagedorn owns this parcel where the college is, and the chairman of the board of directors, he's married to the daughter of, it's all the same stuff, but just on the local level. And to the extent that people have the capacity, which maybe we don't, to understand this stuff, I feel like it can help people maybe passive, because it's passive consumption, listening to a podcast. People don't have to be active. They can just listen to it. And if they have the capacity to process it, then it will be helpful, so that they have defense mechanisms against the nonstop barrage of propaganda that they don't even know they're getting.
I think it's good. It's good to have something local like that, where we can, I don't want to say use a trusted source, but have somebody that's willing to at least break stuff down. Because truthfully, I tell people, I'm like, man, if you really want to change your life, start under your roof. Start at home, right? The decisions you make at home are going to affect your kids and you and your family way more than anything that Trump is going to do, way more than anybody in the government's going to do. So start there. And it's the same concept with this. People that are hyper political and want to be involved, start here. Start local. Pay attention to what's going on local. So I think your podcast is a great idea.
I hope so.
So it's called No Idaho.
no ID is what
No
we're
ID.
going with.
Okay.
I mean, it's supposed to be for North Idaho, no ID, but it's also no ID, as in screw your cabal issued credential. Oh, you need a real ID to step foot on a plane, otherwise we'll tackle you and zip tie you. Like, no ID. Well, what choice do you have, Scott? Good luck. Like, yeah, I know, you're right, but I still call it no ID.
Oh,
This is
perfect.
cool.
Where can people find it?
NoIDshow.com.
NoIDshow.com.
NOID.
That's it. Yep, and it's on all the podcast apps, and there's a YouTube channel which is just the shows in video form. But it's an audio show, but it's any platform that you use to consume content, you can find it.
Okay. That's cool.
With the exception of TikTok. I haven't.
No, we haven't. Gone
I'm
there.
still
No,
too.
it's fine.
I'm
We're
still
not on
too
there either.
Luddite for TikTok.
Too much.
Yeah.
Too much. Well, thank you, Scott. This has been a very enjoyable conversation.
My
my friend.
pleasure. Yeah, likewise.
We will have to do a follow-up with you sometime.
Anytime.
So if you guys are out there and you need that hyperlocal content, which you do, hit up Scott over at noidshow.com.
Boom.
And enjoy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.